O'clock, and I will call the meeting of the St. Croix County Board to order at this time. And at this time we'll have roll call. It'll be electronic. Okay, everybody is. Invocation. Oh, I'm sorry. Invocation will be first, and that will be with Father John Gertis from St. Patrick's Church. And please rise for the invocation, please.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. And as we gather today our thoughts and our prayers, just would like to share with you back in the 1800s, there was a man that was born down by Oak Grove near Prescott, who for us in the Catholic Church is just one step away from becoming what we call a saint. Someone who is recognized of having outstanding virtue. And this individual would go on to serve people in Detroit, New York, Indiana, but had very humble roots. His family were farmers, as I said, just south of Hudson. His family, after several very poor harvests, moved to Hudson here and lived for some time here, and he would go on eventually to work as a prison guard in Stillwater. Would meet some of the Jesse James gang there as a prison guard, and eventually became a priest himself. And his mantra was always gratitude. And he would always tell people, thank God ahead of time. And one of his sayings was also that gratitude is the first sign of a thinking, rational creature. Ingratitude leads to so many breaks with God and our neighbor. So I just encourage us just to pause a moment to consider what are we thankful for this day. Almighty God, we are grateful to you. We are thankful for the many blessings that come to us from your hands. As we began this meeting today, I was just reminded that we are able to see some of the bright yellow sun today and blue sky. We are thankful for that. We are thankful for whenever there is a gentle rain upon the earth. We thank you for the crops that the farmers provide for us, the food for the harvest. We thank you for family. We thank you for friends. We thank you for those who have stepped forward and are willing to serve our county on this county board, along those who support them by taking jobs with our county, whether they serve us in healthcare, law enforcement, serve us in the work they do in offices or on the streets, on the roads of our county, in our forests, among our waters. Wherever they are found, we are grateful for those who serve us by their work. And Lord, we ask your blessings now upon this meeting. May God grant those who are involved in making decisions this evening the wisdom and the grace to make good and wise decisions as we make this along with all of our prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father. Okay, Cindy, roll call. We'll complete the roll call. Please enter your... Okay, we'll proceed on then with public comment at this time, and we'll allow 3 minutes for public comment this evening. First, with the request would be Judge Waterman to speak. Your Honor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and it truly is a pleasure to see all of you here in person. It's been a long time. I just wanted to speak and share a few words about the Casa Program. For those of you who have not heard me speak about it, is a short acronym for Court-Appointed Special Advocate. These are volunteers who judges appoint to represent and to advocate for the best interests of children who are in child protection cases. Usually child protection cases involve parents who are struggling with drugs or alcohol or other problems, and they're unable to provide for the basic needs for their children. The judges, including myself, had all identified a need for court-appointed special advocates in our child protection cases. We've seen our child protection case numbers increase significantly. I think they are presently at or near all-time highs in our county. More children are placed outside of the home, meaning they're removed from the family unit and placed either with a relative provider or in some cases even placed in foster care. Many of those out-of-home placements have been going on longer and longer. I think on average, they're about 2 years. So just imagine a child placed outside the home for upwards of 2 years while the case works its way through the system or while the parents figure out how they're going to address their drug and alcohol problems. It's obviously costly to the county. It's harmful to children who get trapped into this system. So the judges had identified a need for a Casa program to provide a personal advocate for the child, to be the judge's eyes and ears inside that home so that we can better address and tailor our decisions to help the child either return back to home or be placed with a suitable permanent home. We don't have a Casa program in St. Croix County. So about 2 years ago, Judge Needham had tasked the judiciary with starting up a process to bring a program to St. Croix County, and I was one of the ones who have been principally involved in that. We hit an obstacle with COVID-19. That basically put the brakes on everything for roughly a year. We also hit some administrative red tape with the national Casa program. Before we can have a local program, we have to get approval from the national organization, and we had some issues that had to be worked out there. But I am happy to report that there is a nonprofit currently operating in St. Croix County. It's called Casa of St. Croix County, Inc. Mr. Solberg volunteered to be on the board, along with 2 other lawyers and a very active member of our community. And things are progressing very well. And I think we'll be able to serve children still in 2021 and then hopefully in the future as well. So I just wanted to come and give you an update on that. A lot of you have talked to me privately, and I've also appeared at other meetings. So I appreciate your interest. I genuinely appreciate your support that you've expressed. And if you have any questions about what CASA is or what we, the judges, do, my door is always open, both figuratively and literally. I'm always happy to speak to supervisors. Thank you.
Next we have Rory Solberg.
Well, I retired from my law practice on July 1st, so I needed something to do. And so the judges, with their passion and wanting to fill this need, I found myself in this room of about 13 people, and it said, well, we need a president, and there was a quiet. But then I had to say something, and I said, I can help out. And it's been, you need to be a lawyer to kind of get through the red tape that flies at you to start up a nonprofit. In fact, we're taking over the reins of a nonprofit that wasn't successful on the other side of Wisconsin. And it's been a little struggle getting the documents that we've needed from them. But I'm happy to say we're filed, we're of record, we have our bylaws. I'm re-upping our registration with the state of Wisconsin, with the IRS. We have our EIN number. We have a bank account. We're rolling. I even made a contribution, so we're that far along. And at some time, we'll invite maybe all of you to make a contribution. But in light of the Father's comments about being thankful, I'm thankful that I have the health to respond to this need. I'm thankful for Ken Witt and his support of this effort, for the prior administrative committee that provided some upfront funds for us. And I think we're going to do a great service for this county. And if you're going to have 30 to 50 volunteers working, you know that's going to be saving the county a lot of money. So hopefully what will happen is the kids will get through the system more quickly and it'll be less of a cost for the county. So I think the cost that the county is going to, whatever funding we get, is going to return big for you too. Hopefully in September, we'll have a budget report kind of showing what we're going to be doing. Hopefully in September, there might even be an executive director that we'll be standing here with lots of excitement. If not, I'll be back in September. So it's my goal to have the executive director hired by then. So 3 chairs for Casa, 3 chairs for the judges wanting to fill this need, and I'm glad to help out. Thank you, everybody.
Is there anybody else who wishes to make public comment this evening? State your name, please.
Hi, my name's Carol Ivance. I live at 613 Knollwood Drive, and I'm pretty sure that you're all aware by now of exactly what the narrative of lies is that you are following. We can certainly see, we the people, that as a whole, the majority in government, including here at the local level, is not really interested in what we the people want, because we've come again and again and again and asked if we could work with you. So again, I feel the need to warn you that regardless of your current position of rather limited power, you can't hold on to it forever, and this life isn't where power matters. There is a God. He is completely just, even though his timing isn't what we might want or expect, and all of us are going to get the recompense that we deserve, depending on what we did in this life. And the more power that you have, the more responsibility you have for how you use it. I'm going to read a little bit from Psalm 2. Why do the nations riot and the peoples gossip and grumble in vain? The kings of the earth take a stand, and the rulers conspire together against the one true God and his Messiah, or Christ. They say, let's break their chains and throw off their fetters. In other words, God's laws, morality, and order, we want to get rid of them. Our culture has certainly done a great job of becoming totally immoral, and now it's being rammed down our throats, even if we don't want anything to do with these so-called laws forcing us to abandon our God-given convictions. The Communist Manifesto famously says that all we have to lose is our chains. I wonder if Marx and Engels purposely quoted from this psalm. In any case, it goes on to say that God laughs at measly mortals defying him as if we could ever defeat God. And he warns us all to get right with him. He sends no one to hell. The people who end up there walk in under their own power and by their own bad choices. In Romans 1, we're clearly told that in his mercy, God gives us a choice, but if we choose evil, this will give us over to the consequences of that evil. If you think that the one world government, that this whole pandemic, injection, stolen election, etc. scheme is heading towards is going to solve everything, I'm here to tell you that you'll be very disappointed. You are just useful tools. You'll be disposed of too. Your only hope is in Jesus and his very costly, loving sacrifice on your behalf, which you need to accept in obedience to him, because what will last in eternity is what really counts. So I hope that as you make decisions about what the county's doing, about masking, about vaccinations, all this other stuff that we've given you our opinions on, that you will let us have our own free choice and not try and ram things down our throats, which we can see is coming. I mean, it's at the global level, it's at the federal and state level, but it doesn't have to be at the county level. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to make public comment? Anyone else to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the business items. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion to bring that forward? Supervisor Osnes? Second by... Yeah. Scott. Supervisor Connor. I'll get it right. No, there's no discussion. So... Put in the second, Scott. Carries, thank you. Presentations or recognitions? None? Okay, County Administrator's report. Mr. Whitt?
Yeah, nothing terribly exciting with the financial report. We're 6 months through the year. We're at 56% of our revenues and 55% of our expenses. So they're mirroring each other, and they're pretty close to where we would expect to be at this time of the year. So no anomalies to report there. Probably the most interesting thing is we got an early estimate of our net new construction number, which is the biggest number that we need for our budget. So it's 2.16%. Which would equate to 652,000 of new revenues for us. That's down from last year. We were in the upper 2% range last year, so it'd be about 200,000 less than we had last year for new money. So that'll make balancing the budget just a little bit harder for us this year. If there are any questions on the financial report, though, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you, Ken. Okay, the business items. First item of business then would be resolution supporting the WDNR notice of decision grant application. And Supervisor Hanson, sorry. Second on that. Supervisor Shatner. Discussion.
This is a grant which has become necessary because the manure pit on the Marvin Johnson farm failed, which triggered an order called a notice of decision by the Wisconsin DNR, which required the closing and capping of this manure pit, which is fairly expensive. That notice of decision then makes available a grant which is 70% state and then 30% matched by the landowner, the farmer, the agribusiness person, which requires us to approve that grant. There's no cost involved on part of the county, just requires our approval.
Supervisor Lee?
I had a question. So if this goes through and it's taken care of, what is the agribusiness farmer doing about any future manure issues? Like, how's it being handled?
He's owns a CAFO and he'll follow the law. He'll develop another pit. He's probably already doing that. It's up to, it's not, we don't dictate how he does it. It's a state matter between the DNR and so usually we don't ask directly those kind of questions. But Steve, our water resources administrator, Stevener, is on top of it. He's very, very good. And when we asked that question, he indicated pretty much what I said. He's following state law and he's going to address those issues appropriately. We have some limited, and I think Ed would probably be able to answer this, we have some limited ability to actually direct a farmer what to do with their business. But we do have some ability to help them with things like this.
Seeing no further questions, we'll vote. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Next would be a resolution updating personnel policies. Supervisor Ard, and a second, do we have on that?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the resolution updating the personnel policies.
Second. Supervisor Bill. Tara?
I'm just here if there's any questions for me, or I can go over the summary if you'd like me to do that of the changes.
Would the board like the summary overview? Supervisor Hanson.
It is, it's state statute. We did cooperate with Corp Counsel, but it is statute that they have the access to that information.
Doesn't that open the window to an employee being harassed by whoever's asking for that information?
It could. We do a balancing test whenever we are releasing any information, and if it's determined that the balancing test determines that we shouldn't release it, then we will go that route. But we are required to release the information that's in the statute.
Mr. Chair, thanks for allowing this. And then just, do you, then, are you letting the person know that there's been a request on them?
For certain information that's released, we do. There are certain documents that if we are going to release them, before we release them, we do have to notify the person that the information's been requested of, and then we give them a certain period of time to be able to let us know if they're going to try to argue that in layman's terms. So there are ways that they can prevent it from being shared. So we do give them notice, but not everything. Like if someone requests a copy of, I'm trying to think of a generic form that might be in a file, that we wouldn't notify them, we would just have to release that. I don't know if you have more technical terms, Scott, that you want to weigh in on that I'm missing.
Well, there's certain information by statute that's out of bounds for certain classes of employees, like address, home email, home address, phone number, that sort of thing, cell phone number. But then there are certain items, and primarily what we deal with is investigations regarding disciplinary matters in which an employee has to receive, if the county decides to release it, the employee has to give notice and then has an opportunity to bring suit in circuit court to block that release. Now, keep in mind that there's a presumption of openness in public records law, and that it's really in the rare instance that we don't disclose information which is in a personnel file. But there are certain things that are out of bounds. Performance evaluations for employees are not subject to release, and there's a whole list of things that are not subject to release.
The only way that we would release those is if the employee had signed a release form for us to be able to share that information.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Tara. Okay, we're ready to vote. It's unanimous, carries, thank you. Okay, we'll get some guidance on this number 3 item, the declaring of an emergency, severe storm and tornado from Corp Council. Scott, do you want to?
Sure. So we had a bad storm last week, right around midnight, I think it struck here. So it straddled 2 days. The board chair, pursuant to statute, signed a proclamation of emergency, and the reason why that was done at that time is that the state had not yet declared an emergency. So in an abundance of caution, and we had the chair, we drafted the proclamation. The chair determined that it was appropriate. Subsequent to that, the state issued a declaration of emergency. So really, hindsight is that the declaration or the proclamation by the county wasn't necessary because the state covered the emergency, and that was necessary for certain funding. So at this point, the board can either ratify, alter, or repeal the proclamation. And so because it's no longer necessary, I guess I would recommend that there be a motion to repeal the proclamation of emergency.
So at this time, the board would entertain a motion to repeal. Supervisor Ard and Supervisor Tomczyk.
I would move to repeal the motion.
Thank you. Second from Supervisor Tomczyk. Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Carries, thank you. Okay, next be the annual department reports. First will be Highway. Robbie?
Seconds. Good evening, everyone. 2020 was an interesting year. We faced some challenges, we faced some excitement, but we put it as much as we can in the report, and the only thing I can assure you is we will continue to do our best to provide efficient and effective service across the county. With that, and always, I am available for any question, no matter when, so if there's any questions, I'd be glad to help.
Supervisor Achterhoff?
Yeah, this is just out of curiosity. It's off of 63, a couple miles south of G. There's a sign saying bridge out a mile east. The sign has been there for about a year and a half. Do you have any idea when that's going to be fixed?
Sure, that sign went up on June 30th of 2020. We had the big flood on June 29th.
Yeah.
So that bridge was a town emerald structure that was actually damaged to the point of failure. So the bridge washed out. That bridge has been replaced, and we formally put in the approaches for the town last Thursday. It should be open for travel, but the bridge out signs the town requested to keep up until it's fully paved.
Thank you.
Supervisor Achterhoff?
One other. I was talking to a retired highway person, and they had an interesting perspective about the salt versus the brine. I assume last year was the first year you did use the brine, correct?
We've been using the brine since about 2019.
Have you done any survey results to find out exactly how effective it is or the best way to use it for cost savings?
Sure, it's something we constantly evaluate. Liquids versus, they all have their place. So temperature, weather conditions, wind conditions dictate that type of response. But I can tell you we are not on the forefront of brine. In fact, I'd say we're in the back 20% of counties. So we're playing some catch up and we're utilizing all the data that other counties are generating. There is a place for everything and there's a use for everything. And we will learn as a county and where to adopt. But what I can assure you is brine will be part of our future simply because both from a chemistry and a cost saving standpoint, we can provide similar service at less value or less cost using liquids. But change is always hard. Thank you.
No further questions. Thank you, Robbie. Next then would be the Registrar deeds and report. Beth?
I can't pass up a time to come in front of you guys because I come so rarely. Basically, the Register of Deeds 2020 report is in your files or in your reports. Bring you into 2021 a little bit and touch on 2020 as far as the pandemic. The Register of Deeds office had to remain open the entire time. We always had somebody in the office. Our workers went at home. They were 100% productive, working 40 hours a week. The Register of Deeds office was declared to be essential workers. The Wisconsin Land Title Association, your Realtors Association, your Bankers Association, they all depend on the data that's in our office. So if we weren't open, then people weren't getting loans, people weren't able to buy, sell real estate. And in regards to the vital records that we do, if you were ill and you needed insurance, you had to have a record. If one of your loved ones passed away, you had to have a record. So we had to remain open 100% during the pandemic. Governor Evers did declare a week in June to be Register of Deeds Association Week in 2020. And then there was a nice write-up in one of your Wisconsin Counties Association magazines on how the Register of Deeds office has been proactive in their history, making sure everything was online, readily available in case something like this happens. So we weathered that storm. 2021, things are extremely busy. I know Ken had just reported that we were at about 56% revenue for the county. Register of Deeds office is at about 90% revenue for 2021 already. Places are selling, people, everything is extremely, extremely busy. We finally did fill our one open position. We hired Jessica Lehman from the village of North Hudson. She started a couple weeks ago, so we are finally, after the pandemic and everything, fully staffed in our office and preparing in case there's another pandemic and just trying to catch up with the extreme workload that we do have right now. So any questions? Yes.
I don't know if this is something that you've had to deal with or not, but have you seen any instances that have come across for people filing quitclaim deeds on properties falsely?
The property fraud?
Correct.
We haven't found anything. The only way we're going to find something is if somebody comes in. So we don't think that there's anything out there right now. But one of the things that the Register of Deeds office has is what's called property fraud alert. So you can sign up, costs nothing. It's part of the software package that we have. You just sign up your name, and every time when we index a document, it's looking constantly for that name in our records. And as soon as something's recorded, it'll notify you, either by a text or by a phone call. And the biggest thing with property fraud is people don't find out that something like that has occurred for a long, long time. You know, somebody's already kind of moving in, changing your locks, you know, you're a snowbird, you're not here all the time. So that's the best thing that you can do. It's like your smoke detector in your house. It's not going to really prevent your house from getting on fire. However, you're going to know right away, you're going to be able to, that document's still going to be in its format in our office. If it's come electronically, we'll know exactly who it went to. The biggest thing you can do is step on it right away and protect yourself. So nothing that we know exists. So I encourage everybody, if you haven't already, sign up for that property fraud alert. And if you're a veteran, we're working with Phil's department. We have another program called Honor Rewards, where we're trying to connect our honorable servicemen, our veterans, with discounts at businesses in St. Croix County. So Phil and I have worked extremely hard to encourage businesses to offer some type of discount, whether it's free chiropractic or a discount on your roofing, free pet care, that kind of thing, or, you know, a free pop at the restaurant. And so we've got businesses to offer the discounts, and Phil and his department is working extremely hard at getting like dozens and dozens. We have 172 or upwards right now veterans signed up to take advantage of that. So both good programs.
Supervisor Actor.
How much more redaction do you have? I mean, I've been on the board for almost 7 years, and I think it comes up every year.
Yeah, so redaction, if nobody knows what that is, it's the blocking of Social Security numbers that are in our documents. So Social Security was enacted in 1935, and it wasn't until just about mid-2000s, 2006, 2007, where people were going, well, that's really personally identifiable. It's very, very important. And so we go back and we've looked at almost all records from 1935 to 2006 to see if there's any Social Security numbers on them. Most of it hands-on, most of it eyes-on, some done by optical character recognition. So we believe that we are pretty much 100% done with the redaction, but the catch-all is until we go back and index every single one of those documents and put a second set of eyes on the ones that were optically done by software, we probably won't be 100% confident, but I'm pretty confident. The problem with optical character recognition is I'm a sloppy handwriter, so when I sign my name, it's like half above the line, half below the line. You know, it's not very perfect like some of your writing might be. So in those situations, it can't really tell what the line represents. Is that a number, you know, when I've got it half above the line, half below the line? So the optical optical character recognition is not great for that. So we still need that second set of eyes, a real person's eyes on those documents. And as we're doing that, we're indexing those documents, grantor, grantee, which in pandemics such as we had, those abstractors, those bankers, those attorneys, they're out there trying to look at those records online to do a 60-year search to sell a property. So it's very important to get those indexed too. A lot of times we don't think of it as being important, but when we're looking back at easements, patents, right-of-ways, things that affect the county specifically, you know, we've owned some of our properties for quite some time. So if we had to find out if we had a legitimate easement that needs to be updated, we need the records indexed so we can find them easily. So we're working on it. I'm pretty sure we're pretty good. Anything else? All right, thank you all. If you have any questions, stop by my office.
Thank you, Beth. Next, for the County Veterans Service Office report, Philip.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank you guys all for giving the Veteran Service Veteran Service Office everything that we need to take care of our veterans in this county. So thank you very much. Also want to thank Kathy and Joe for all the hard work that they do to help our office work. Just a quick recap of 2020. We continue to scan files. Our files will be fully digital by the end of 2021. This was a huge cost saving to the county. We all did it in-house through Kathy's hard work. The grant for the CVSO grant will be going up. We did some resolutions and things like that through the county board. It will go up, not much, but we'll take the $1,500 when we can get it. And then just our veteran population has been going down a little bit, but that's because of our veterans are passing away. But you'll notice that our VA compensation has been going up, and I think that that's because there's more of a challenge with the younger returning veterans who might have some more potential concerns or issues. So the amount is going down, but their need is still going up. So we'll continue to take care of them as best we can, and we'll get them over to the VA if they will fix the van, and we'll just continue to do all those things. But we're glad to do it. So I would take any questions right now if there is any. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask about the van.
Yeah, I had to bring it up because so for those of you who don't know, the VA van, we're still taking people over there, but these are from our volunteer drivers are driving their own personal vehicles, and it's a little bit more challenging to incentivize them to take their own personal vehicles over there. We had a VA van, we purchased it, we donated it to the VA, and in September of 2020, it hit a deer, unfortunately. They said it was pandemic related, why it's taken so long, but I would question that. But they've dropped the ball. And it's still not fixed. We've lost some of our autonomy with having them have the vehicle. So we're going to have to look strongly at that in the future. Now, knowing what I know, I would do things differently. I would manage it differently, but I was going through it for the first time. So there were, not maliciously, but there were some things that I could have maybe done differently. So, but when it works great. But when we encounter a problem like this, it's not great. But we're still getting our veterans over there. We're still not a major break in service. It's just there's more stress on our office and our drivers, who, by the way, we should thank as well. We're very thankful for them as well. But I hope that answered your question. It is, it's a bane of my existence right now. When this thing gets done, I'm going to be a happy camper when that's returned to us.
Supervisor Achterhoff?
Yeah, okay. Out of curiosity, how many veterans are there?
It's just shy of 5,000, and that's just veterans. So it's 4,953, I think, in VA count in 2020.
So the Honors Rewards Program can grow tremendously.
I think that there's more than that. I really do. But yes, I think, I think that there would be more that have signed up, and that maybe that's just frequently. But if it's not, we're still pushing people who come in to our office to sign up, and we'll come in, and when we do some form of application, we'll say, oh, by the way, and then we'll kind of end with that. It's kind of a no-brainer for us. It's just like a nice thing. And if somebody comes in and we can't really necessarily help them with whatever it is, claim-related stuff, or we can't, necessarily do something for them per se, if we just tell them about benefits. Some veterans are not eligible for all things, but we can always say, oh, by the way, we can at least, help you out with this.
Well, 5,000 veterans is a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
On the discounts and stuff for veterans, it seems to me I remember talking to you, maybe a year ago or so better, and that has to be applied if you get the indicator on your driver's license that you're a veteran. You have to apply for that. Is that available online to apply, or?
You can do that online. You can. I encourage people to come to our office to do it. The whole thing does not take very long, but what it does is it gets an opportunity for us to get the DD-214 in our hands, and then we can get that individual veteran in our system. There's a paper form, there's an online form that we can do through our office. There's a self process that somebody can do through MyWIS Vets, but if they do that, then we don't necessarily have a record of that individual or that they had done that application. So it's better for us if we can have them come to our office, and it doesn't take much. So, yeah, but you are correct. You do have to apply for it. There's a box that you have to check that says, are you a veteran? And if you check that box, but you haven't done the application, well, then you just check mark a box. It's still not going to show up on your driver's license. So you do have to do that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh.
Supervisor Osnes?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chair. I got to shake my head, Phil. We're very fortunate in St. Croix County that we've got Phil and Joe and Kathy who do an outstanding job with our vets. You guys are there all the time for them, and we can't thank you folks enough. And each and every one of the drivers that are getting our vets over to the VA, our hats are off to you folks and those drivers as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, request for future agenda items. Seeing none. County clerk's report or correspondence. Reminder of the WCA.
WCA, yeah, I just heard from Kathy who's interested in attending. I've registered those that have already told me to register, so let me know if you have any. I think the deadline is coming up. It's early August, so let me know soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And announcements, Ken? We'll adjourn this meeting at 5:43. Thank you.